Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Marielle. We're both from Randolph-Macon, so if there's any Randy Mac alums, thank you for watching. But we're going to be talking about her business and how she got into it. You can place any questions or comments, and we will answer after our interview. So good morning, Marielle. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well.
Yeah, well, thank you for doing Friday for Female today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we'll get started. So we're here and we're talking about bookkeeping and numbers and math, and that's a lot of things that people hate. How did you get
Right. And it's actually also a long ways off from the French major that I focused on while at Randy Mac.
Yeah. How did you get into the bookkeeping end of things?
Honestly, I think so studying French at Randy Mac was more about being true to the things that I like, and that empowered me once leaving the beautiful red brick wall to seek out other opportunities where I felt empowered. And I ended up getting married soon after graduating. Money was always something that I felt insecure about. Not that I didn't have enough of it, I just sucked at managing it. And it's in my family, I didn't really have anyone who sat down with me. And in fact, when I left to college, my dad just handed me a credit card.
Oh my God.
Like he didn't, he was like, it's for emergencies. Everything's an emergency. Pizza at midnight is an emergency, right?
Yeah.
So nobody sat down with me and was like, this is how you manage your money. This is how you manage credit. So I took a lot of lumps like in that field. And I felt just really insecure in my financial skills. And on top of that, at Randy Mac, when I went, my intent was actually to major in economics, but I failed macro twice. And I was like, this is not for me. But my advisor mentioned, and he was my econ teacher, but he said, you've been taking French all this time and you really enjoy it and you like it and you're doing well. Maybe there's something to pursue there. I never thought that was a thing you could do. Like it's, pay to major in something I like. But anyway, so I left, struggled a lot with money initially, and then started talking to counselors to consolidate debt and manage my finances better. And it was just a lot of learning for maybe the decade after graduation about money management, adulthood, adulting, being married, and all that stuff. So after a while, I always felt like taxes, you had to be a super genius to do them. But while I was working, and actually I had just had my first son, I have two boys. I had just had Max, and I felt like I was doing my own taxes, and I felt like a superhero because I was like, oh my God, this is a thing I understand. And actually, it really doesn't have much to do with the numbers. It's more reading, which I'm really good at.
Better be.
And nobody ever told me that. Nobody had for me to look like that. So people at my church started asking for help with taxes, and I was hesitant to help because I was like, I could do my own. I'll mess up my own. I'll get myself audited, whatever, but I don't want to mess with other people's money. But I always loved helping, and so people would seek me out to do translations and a whole bunch of other little weird jobs, and then taxes became the prevalent thing they were asking about. So I started taking a night class to learn how to do taxes, and then graduated. I even worked at a Liberty Tax for 2 seasons to kind of just get my feet wet and work with other pros and figure out, the ins and outs of tax prep. But it kind of stunk because Liberty Tax might charge someone with a very basic return like $200 to file. I was making $8 an hour, right?
Wow.
So I was like, I can do this for myself if I want to. In 2012, I started doing that.
Yeah.
On my own, on the side, while working a full-time job. And it just started to build. So people at my church were like, no, we don't want you to just give away your work. We're happy to pay you. And it really kind of just grew in that audience, but it was such a confidence boost that I felt like, okay, so I feel like the people in my life before, it's not like I blame them, but it's like I never came across the correct people who knew how to teach me or talk to me about finances and money. Yeah. And it was a thing I had to learn for myself. I think I appreciate it now because it took so much hard work on my end, right, to figure out how to manage my money and what makes sense for me. There's so much that goes into money knowledge. Like there's habits you pick up before you're even aware that you're learning about money when you're younger. Like how is money modeled in your family?
Yeah.
Now, not to put too much of my business out there, but there was always a sense of false abundance in my home. Like we had stuff, but I remember one time we ran out of toothpaste and my dad, like it took us a couple of days to get toothpaste. And I'm like, what is happening that we can't go to CVS and get like a $2 tube of toothpaste, right?
Yeah.
Other things would happen that kind of was just shake up that sense of false abundance. So my dad drove a nice car. He went to nice places. We lived in an apartment. We didn't live in a house, right? So there were like foundational things that didn't seem right that I didn't pick up on until much later as an adult. I started doing the work of, okay, what is savvy money management?
Yeah.
So when I was doing taxes for folks, the people in my church were very wary of government, of taxes. They didn't speak English, a lot of them, so they didn't understand why we were even doing taxes, what was the point of them. They just knew it was a very government mandated thing, and they were like, we don't want to get in trouble. Or, you know, some people would just not report taxes for years because they're like, who's gonna come check me? And I'm like, no, you don't want to play that game. Right. And this is why.
Like, oh, crazy amount later.
Correct. Right. And then there were benefits later, like the Dreamers Act and a whole bunch of other things for which you needed years of tax return filings. Right. And even now in the midst of the pandemic, so many programs have been created to help small businesses, but like you need to have had good tax, at least a good record of filing your taxes over the past few years. So, okay, I go into the tax business and I legit like started it in 2012 on the side. 2013, I had my second son. And by like 2015, I'm still just doing taxes during tax season. But I started to feel like I'm eventually going to want to not work for somebody. Yeah. Like I can feel it. I'm eventually going to just want to be home with my kids. And I don't think I can do the stay-at-home mom thing just because I need to have some mental stimulation and something that is for me. So I just kept researching options, and because taxes are so seasonal, another option was bookkeeping. So in 2016, I signed up to take a bookkeeping course, and thankfully, I live in Frederick, Maryland, and we have a robust chamber of commerce and a very nice networking community. This community supports small businesses like nothing else I've ever experienced, but I have lived here forever. I just kind of gravitated to this area, and I've loved it. But when I started taking my bookkeeping classes, I also started kind of like serial networking. Well, every day after work.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like I was going to say, you have a large network, so why was that important to you? I mean, I guess you started it prior to your business, so what came?
Right. Well, I kept I felt like I wanted to meet other bookkeepers, one, to figure out if this is something that I want to do. And eventually I had to build a brand and get my name out there. And before the pandemic, you could literally make networking your full-time job. There were so many different activities happening in Frederick. And I was trying to get to a lot of them. And at one of them, unbeknownst to me, she was stalking me too, but I met a business coach. And I'd seen her at a couple of events, and she'd always come and approach me and say, like, I am a business coach. if you're just starting out in business, I'd love to help you get to the next level or help you refine your ideas for your business. But I was like, oh my gosh, first of all, I haven't even fully wrapped my mind around going out on my own and being an entrepreneur. Like, I don't think that that's a thing I can do. I'm just kicking it around, right? Mm-hmm. I hadn't even gotten to where I was like, I'm actually going to hire a professional to help me with this, because it's like I wasn't taking myself seriously yet.
Yeah.
But she pursued me because I saw her at a lot of events. And then I ended up signing a 2-year contract to work with her. And in that time, she would say, you know, I was always on the lookout for you. At every networking event I went to, I was hunting you down. I saw it. Yes. And I was like, that's crazy, Kathy. Don't say that.
Well, hopefully she's not watching now.
I hope she is, because she was a godsend. She really was. I'll share it with her, and I always sing her praises, because Kathy is the one who helped me kind of tie up any loose ends about Marielle being a business owner. The first one-on-one that we had was at a Panera, and I was like, so I'm an executive assistant for a government contract agency, and I've been doing that forever. And I've been playing around with taxes, and I've been teaching myself bookkeeping. And I think at that point I even had one client, right, that was paying me. Like, I didn't know anything about pricing my services, and I was still getting my feet wet. So I feel like that client was $50 a month or something. But I was like, I have one client and they pay me $50 a month, and I don't really know if this is the thing that I'm going to do. And so it's just weird if I even just call myself a bookkeeper. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. And she was like, let me tell you right now, if anyone, I don't care if it's your dad, if someone's paying you to do bookkeeping, you're Marielle the bookkeeper. So go ahead and embrace that.
Yeah.
And
that's the
it was a big deal.
Yeah, because like in order to run a business, right, you have to feel part of the business, and you have to feel
well, and I think for women, we lack so much confidence in our know-how. And I am the oldest child, well, the oldest girl. I have a very type A personality. So for me, it was like, it's not a thing if I don't know every step of the process and I don't have all the boxes ticked, right?
Yeah.
But Kathy was the one who helped me feel comfortable with, like, actually, girl, everyone's faking it. Everyone's figuring it out as they go.
It's like as you go. So
correct.
Yeah.
And you need to be comfortable with that, because I have learned so much, even in the last couple of years, about the ways that just the universe or God or whatever you believe in will line up opportunities for you when you're ready for them. You know, so you have to do the work of preparing. You're gonna mess up.
Yeah.
You're gonna make mistakes, and then it's not a loss and it's not a failure if you just keep pushing forward.
And if you learn from those mistakes too, like if
you do,
if you keep
sometimes
making,
it costs you money, so you learn it well.
Yeah, because if you keep making the same mistakes, then you know you've not really learned anything, you know. So it's
but even in that,
yeah,
you're still trying. You're still trying, and so you're still gonna, hopefully, you know, some of us have to fall a few times before a thing sticks.
Yeah.
But you're still moving forward and you're still learning.
Well, now let me ask you this. Now that you have gone into your bookkeeping, because you've opened up your business, you have your mentor, you know, and you seem so confident. How do you now manage all of your clients? Because like that's a lot of numbers, a lot of people's paperwork.
Right.
You know, how do you actually like sit there and like, okay, how do I deal with all the numbers? Because business owners themselves, like they think of bookkeeping and they're like, oh my God, like, you know,
right.
you're like doing a whole bunch. So how do you do that?
So when I get it to its perfect state, right, it'll be copy paste for every client. But every client is as individual as the individuals that they are. So their needs are different. And bookkeeping works for me because it's very much a solo like background job. I don't want to be front and center, And I actually need quiet time to myself, which is crazy because you would think it's very limited because I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old boy. They don't care about what I have to do.
No.
But, even with that, you kind of establish routines. So I currently have 10 clients, and each, for some, I'll also run payroll. For some, I help them with their taxes as well. And I've had to just sit down with my calendar and I'll say, today is the day that I'm working on client X. And I know client X just needs their monthly reports. So that's the day. I'll actually give myself grace and maybe extend it to 2. But that's the day that I'll go through their financials for the month, email them if I need additional information, and just try to knock it out. Once I touch it, I'm trying to finish it because I still have to mom and I still have to wife and I still have to. So I try to get it done. But once I can sit and get started, it's not super difficult. They do have different needs. So I do think being organized is a critical skill for bookkeeping. There's a lot of stuff that you can learn and pick up along the way. But if you aren't someone who enjoys organization and coming up with systems, right?
Not your way.
I would rethink, your strength is somewhere else. And again, you don't have to do all the things. Like it is something that you should eventually outsource out because like you run a martial arts academy. Like that's your gift. That's the thing that you should focus on. Everything else, eventually, you should outsource. In fact, I'm looking for someone to outsource my books out to because I want to focus on my client stuff. I can do my stuff, but I don't want to focus on it or waste time on it. Now that my clientele is growing, I want to be available to them and then have someone else worry about my stuff.
Yeah. And now that you also understand it, because that was your whole thing at the beginning, you didn't understand it. So you're trying to gain knowledge behind it to understand it,
Right. And it's a continuous, you have to learn new things all the time. So in the beginning, even with taxes, in the beginning, I wanted to help everybody, right? But I really quickly discovered that I don't like corporation taxes at all. So I started to find during networking events and just online connections, opportunities to work with other folks and then I could outsource that stuff that I didn't like. So kind of, the same with bookkeeping. Like there are certain clients that I know that I can't work with. There's 1,000,008 different softwares. I want to work with QuickBooks Online because I don't have to go to your office to do your books. I can do it from home. Mm-hmm. And if I have a client who's not comfortable with that, that's okay. I have someone in my network who can help you with whatever software you like, but I'm not for you. And even it took a while to even get comfortable with that. Like I'm not for everybody and I'm still going to be okay. I don't have to service all of Frederick to have, or all of Maryland to have a successful business.
Well, and that's, right? I think that's, because I think like as female business entrepreneurs, it's so hard anyways, just being a female and doing a business, that when we want to do it, it's like, we want to try to help everybody, because we're in there and we're already judged just being a female, right? And so
and that's our nature too, to nurture, to help. You don't want to turn someone away, but you're helping them by saying, you know what, I'm not the one who has a solution for you.
And I think people will respect that more because now you're being very honest too. You can, I mean, if you're able,
and you're showing that you know yourself. You're self-aware.
Yeah, and that's not very important too.
Absolutely.
So, they would value that because then who knows, maybe like later on down the line, they may hear somebody who may need somebody and they'll be like, oh, I remember Marielle. Because, you were honest enough with them to say it's not about the money, it's about you and what benefits you, So that's great. Now, what was one of your most memorable experiences?
I've had so many. I will say, okay, so this one was not a great experience, but I will never forget it because that's when I learned I'm not for everybody. So one of my clients referred me to another client, and she had a she had multiple businesses, but she would give me documentation today and expect reports tonight. And I don't work that way. In fact, I have since learned, and I found my people, right? I'm not that bookkeeper today. Today I have kids who are very small. I also homeschool, and I do a lot of other stuff. So all of my clients are cool with like, you're going to get your reports this month. I'm not the person who's going to be like, you'll get them by the 3rd every month, because life happens and it doesn't work. And they're cool with that. And we communicate often. But when I signed on this lady as a client because she was a referral and a good friend of one of my clients. But she wanted results quicker than I could give them to her. And I was pulling my hair out to try to get all of the information that she needed to her right away. But I also had to research a lot of what she wanted, which was time consuming. Well, she very quickly became frustrated, and she sent me an email that was, a little harsh. And she was like, I wish you had told me that you are not able to handle this. And I cried about it, but then I responded, and I was like, you're absolutely right. I should have known better, because you are different than most of my other clientele. So I do apologize for wasting your time. I refunded her all of her money, and I was like, I don't know that this means anything now, but I would, if you still need assistance looking for a bookkeeper, I can certainly refer you to someone in my network. I don't want to leave you high and dry. But that I would still go visit my client in my client's office, and she would be there. And it was awkward at first, I think, but I genuinely wasn't upset or anything. I felt like that was a very valuable lesson for me, because I understood there were things I learned to look for to determine if someone is my client. And she was very blatantly not one of the people that would be a good fit for me at this time. Mm-hmm. So that stuck, because it cost me money, but I appreciate her for it, because she also, she's correct. Like, she doesn't need to be waiting on me if she needs stuff right away. She needs to find someone who can cater to her.
Yeah. And it helped you to have almost a system in place where you can rule out, okay, let me ask you these 5 questions. And if they say a certain response, it gives you the red flag, hey, I'm sorry, that's not the way I work. And then you can address that,
Yeah. Yeah. And through the whole process, I mean, my husband has been really supportive, but it's not his business, right? So I remember I went to him and I was like, oh my God, I got this email from a client and it's so awful, blah, blah, blah. And of course, he's just shooting off at the mouth, and he's so pissed. And he's like, I don't understand how you let people talk to you like this. And I'm like, what? This is a client. I can't go back and be like, well, here's what you can do, right? Because that's not professional, whatever. So when he calmed down for me, right, because he was angry on my behalf, he kept bringing that incident up a lot later, when I would have pity parties for myself, right? And he would just be like, if there's anybody who can figure out the solution to this problem that you're having, it's absolutely you, because you're a professional. You don't get angry with clients. You automatically get angry with yourself, which isn't a healthy coping situation. But you need to understand, all you need to do is fix the problem. Focus on the client, like you did that one time when I was telling you to do whatever. Focus on the client and what do they need. If you were them, what would you need? So he's been great about helping me develop better coping habits for when I have, scary moments with clients, and they happen. And that's the thing. I'm still in business even after these kinds of experiences, and I'm sure I will have many more, but then you just keep it going.
And you learn from them, and that's
correct.
You'll always have the good and the bad. Well, I'm going to end with 2 questions for you. So one is, any advice for women entrepreneurs? And 2, some bookkeeping tips for people who are just like starting off with it and aren't necessarily ready to outsource quite yet, but eventually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a tip for, I feel like my audio is off.
Yeah, I would scoop back maybe a bit.
Sorry. Tip for women business owners. Get a business coach. Get a mentor to help you through the first few months. And I will type that up for people.
Okay.
Okay.
I was about to do that too.
Yeah. Bookkeeping tips. There's a lot of, well, maybe not a lot. There's one free bookkeeping software that I like to use, and I'll send a link. There's a ton of training on YouTube. So use YouTube, Google, and this one free bookkeeping resource I'm going to send.
Awesome.
And you should be good.
Are you accepting new clients, just in case if there's anyone who's watching?
I am.
Okay.
And I am a remote business, so I don't have to live in Maryland, or my clients don't have to live in Maryland for me to be able to service them.
Okay. So
yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I've already put a screenshot of Marielle's business on our event page and on this page, but we'll also share a link to your page so that everyone can have it. And if you decide to do bookkeeping with her, go for it. I know Marielle just from a personal experience. She's very warm and very welcoming, and she works with you. It's not like oh, give her your books and then that's it. No, it's a mutual relationship where you guys work together to accomplish whatever. So, you're welcome. And if anyone else needs to promote their business or has a Q&A that they want to do or wants to discuss martial arts, just hit me up on the page and we'll do a Friday for Females video for you guys. Anything else, Marielle, as we close up?
No, I just wish new entrepreneurs much success and just don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great Friday.
Bye.
Bye.